One of the most important features of market economies is their ability to adapt to changing circumstances. The market system has built-in mechanisms for changing production and consumption choices when the environment changes. These adaptations largely work through the price mechanism, and they include changes in quantities produced and consumed, changes in prices, but also changes in the number of producers of a good, as well as the production technologies they use. Understanding how these changes unfold is the study of market dynamics. To understand the basics of market dynamics, let's take the story of corn in Maysville, a fictional town somewhere in the Corn Belt. Corn has been grown in the region for hundreds of years by Native Americans, and as the population of settlers grew significantly, they relied on corn production for food and animal feed. A number of farmers produced corn, and the market price of corn adjusted so that the quantity demanded of corn equaled the quantity supplied. In years with worse harvests, less corn was available and market price rose, so the quantity demanded was less as well. With corn more expensive, consumers relied somewhat more on other goods for food and animal feed. In better years, market price was lower and consumers used more corn. This is how the price mechanism helps producers and consumers adjust to changing circumstances. In spite of these year-to-year fluctuations in harvest, the number of farmers and how they ran their farms stayed fairly stable for many years. Eventually, however, a much larger change was affecting Maysville. Population growth in the region was raising demand for corn significantly. With more people buying more corn, price was increasing, and this made corn production more profitable. Farmers were producing more corn, which meant hiring more people and buying more farm equipment. Even so, price remained high. This encouraged some entrepreneurial types to get into the business of growing corn. The number of corn farmers increased, and so did the amount of corn grown, which started bringing the market price back down to earlier levels. The larger number of farmers was able to keep up with demand for some time, but population growth started pushing the limits of what corn farmers could supply. At the same time, very powerful tractors and combines were being developed for farming. Some entrepreneurial farmers decided to change fundamentally the way they ran their farms. They bought large tractors and combines with which they could cultivate a much larger area. They bought more land and started farming at a much larger scale. Even though they had to pay a lot for the expensive new equipment, they produced so much more corn on more land that their cost per bushel of corn was actually lower than the cost per bushel for more conventional farms. The more conventional farms became less competitive, and over time they were bought up by these new large-scale farms. These large-scale farms were more efficient in supplying corn to the now much larger population. Maysville is fictional, but its story has played out in many places and, indeed, in many industries. When the economic environment changes, market prices adjust to clear the market, that is, adjust to the point where sellers who want to produce at that price can sell their product and buyers who want to buy at that price can buy. This prompts producers to adjust their production, and it may also prompt new entry into the industry. In Maysville, population went up, so price increased because of the higher demand. Then farmers started producing more. The higher market price presented a profit opportunity to entrepreneurial people, and they entered the corn farming business. Thus, the number of farmers increased, and this led to more corn, which started bringing price back down. In the short run, some inputs are fixed, so producers can't adjust quite optimally, but they do their best. In the long run, all inputs can be adjusted. In Maysville, some farmers invested into expensive machinery and bought more land because they could now farm at a different scale. This made them more competitive, so more conventional farmers eventually went out of business and got bought out by the larger mechanized farms.